listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Yo, so we are back and we are still recording from home. How's everybody doing? My name is Paul Apostolakis. We have Salvatore Cusmano. We have Brad Weisgerber. We are Inside Real Estate. Thank you all for tuning in. We have a really cool guest today. I'll bring her up here in a minute. Renee Acho. She's one of the smartest agents that I talk to, and she just has a lot of good knowledge. So I'll be really excited to hear from her what the opening of real estate in Metro Detroit or local in Michigan is going to mean and what that looks like in her mind. I'm kind of interested to see, what she thinks about that. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on with the world. I really want to point out that Brad cut his hair. He does not look like Friar Tuck anymore. So what happened with the coif, bro?
It was just getting too crazy. I had to cut it.
So you're just too crazy. You just had to. It looks all right. Yeah, Sal, what are you gonna do about yours? Yeah, what are you gonna do about yours? Your mane.
I'm gonna wait, man. I'm gonna wait.
You're gonna let it ride.
I'm gonna let it ride. We'll be fine.
All right. I cut my hair today. Self-taught. I think. I don't think I'll ever go back to. I don't think I'll ever get my hair cut. I don't think they don't do that much better of a job. But anyways, so guys, like right now, as far as the mortgage market, Sal, like what are you seeing on your end right now?
It seems like things are starting to come back a little bit. Lenders are starting to price aggressively. The influx of new business, especially, purchases and rate and term refis, now things have stabilized, is good too. But I'm seeing a lot of different lenders. Some of them are fast, some of them are slow. Those that kind of lowered their rates or kept their rates low during the initial shutdown are now really backed up, right? So
they took a lot of business on, right? Yeah. So turn times are definitely getting longer, right? Across the board.
So that's part of it. And then, the other part with cash out, it seems like a lot of lenders are pricing to not want those, so
yeah, the cash out is becoming so like people don't want them almost. So it is interesting to see that, and we'll talk some more about that. But I want to bring on Renee because she's on. She's in the waiting room, but Renee, just to introduce her properly. So Renee is a partner at Keller Williams Domain. She basically out of Birmingham, Michigan. There she is. What's up, girl?
Hi.
So she does an amazing job there. She has a great following. She's done a great job of kind of like informing her audience and her followers like during this whole process. So I'm really excited. Thank you for doing the show, Renee.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I know we had some technical issues, huh?
Yeah, that's definitely not my strength. And during this crisis, if it's not, you're in trouble. So I've learned more than I ever wanted to about these apps and all the fun stuff that goes on behind them.
Yeah. I was talking to her, and Renee's just like screaming. Like it was awesome. It was awesome.
This isn't working.
You're like, what? It was awesome.
Devices and none of them are working.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to have you on. I mean, obviously we've had you on before, so if anybody wants to know your background or kind of more the backstory, you can go to the other episode. But I really want to spend some time picking your brain because I think you've got a good one, and I'm interested to like what, in your opinion, like okay, so everybody's like, obviously Facebook, we're open for business, Everybody, I'm like, first of all, I know a lot of agents that didn't stop working. First of all, and then second of all, what does that mean? Right? What does it look like?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean what most people think. So
right.
it just like everything, when we're looking at post-COVID reopen and getting back to the new normal, that normal is going to be totally different than what it was pre-COVID. So the way you show houses, the way you list houses, the way any of that is done is going to be entirely different. It's going to involve a much more a lot more background leading up to. We're going to be, people are going to be less willing to let people just walk into their homes. We have to have certain protocols and precautions, and we can't necessarily go back to the office. So we're able to show homes, but very, very carefully and under very strict conditions as
it changes,
as anything
right?
That reopens is going to have.
It changes. I mean,
there, by the way, because I don't see you.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hold on a second. No, we're all here. Natalie, fix that. Hold on. Natalie, fix. Oh, there we go. Can you see
We're
us?
all here.
What's going on?
Yeah. Can you see us now?
Where's everybody?
Did we lose her? Oh
This is
boy.
hysterical.
Can you hear us?
Now you're back. I hear somebody, but I don't see anybody.
You don't see
I
anybody.
don't think she hears Paul.
You guys are all here.
We are. Okay.
Except for
Well,
Paul.
whoever just said that, I heard you. So why don't you give us another question? Because I don't see anybody else. Are they talking?
Loving technology. Whoa, what was
I mean,
that?
I don't know. Can everybody else hear me? Can you guys
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Yes,
I can hear
yeah,
you
we're
fine.
all good.
All right. So, anyways,
Okay, so
we'll
I
get
can't
back.
hear on my end. I'm
Well,
not
hey,
sure
Natalie,
why.
take her out and have her go back in. We'll bring her back up. Okay. We'll talk a little bit about what she was saying.
Me.
Will you
Renee,
take care of that? Natalie?
go ahead and leave and come back.
Okay.
There we go. Wow, technology! I gotta love it. But dude, I'm really interested to see, like, because she's right? Like, it's not going to look the same. I mean, people have different fears, and you kind of have to solve for a lot of different people because everybody's experience through this is very unique, and their tolerances of what they want to be exposed to are very all over the spectrum. So you almost have to err on the far one side to make sure that you're accommodating everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes for probably everything, right? Not just real estate, but how are they going to set up in the future the bars, the restaurants, things like that, right? Like it's almost like you can play it safe and do it one way, and then there's going to be another group of people who want to really just kind of go full bore, and I think there's going to be a lot of arguments.
Really? Like in terms of what? Like between clients and like
just like people, like, hey, get out of, you're too close to me or whatever, right? You're touching stuff, like.
But what are you gonna do? Fight them?
Right.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Then you're just.
I mean, people are people, right? So I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, it's kind of crazy what's going on right now, and because it's at a point where, like, all right, a lot of people don't care about it anymore, right? Or don't.
There's a population of people that don't care anymore.
There's
right.
Facts, right? I mean, there's absolute facts that this is something that has killed people, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a ton of people out there who potentially have no risk of or very little risk of having any issues, right? Like true issues. So it's a majority of people, I would say, right? So. See what happens, we'll see if there's another wave.
Boom! We got her back. Can you hear us?
I was hearing you guys. You didn't hear me. So
perfect.
I don't know
all right. So we were just talking about how. So we were talking about how, like, you kind of have to solve for the most extreme part because there's people all over. Everybody's experience is unique right now, right? And she's gone. All right. Get her off the screen, Natalie. We're done with her right now. Dude, man. There's there's got to be. I don't know.
There's always something different.
Right.
Always.
I think it might be because she's on her phone.
Maybe. Who knows?
All
right. So I feel like she had something really important to say. Hopefully we can get her back.
So I'm interested to see what happens though if we do get a second wave, because this is unconfirmed. I haven't done any research on this, but I heard last night that the virus actually mutated and there's another strain of it now that's more contagious, which I don't know that to be fact, but I'm really interested to see what happens.
You're quitting what?
I'm quitting.
You're going to quit real estate? She's back, everyone.
It's like we're done listening to it. It goes, we're done.
All right, let's get let's try to fit this in. I feel like you're going to turn into a pumpkin.
I mean, this is why COVID's going to make me crazy because of technology.
Fuck it, let's have a drink. Let's have a drink right now.
It's shot time. Every time it cuts me out, I'm going to do a shot from now on.
Fuck it. So let's talk about that.
Houses, very, very scary thing for people to let people inside of. And then other people are like, just what you were saying. I don't give a crap. I'm letting people in. I'm ready to move forward. And I think that that's the nature of any of these businesses. From, are you going to go to a restaurant or are you not going to go to a restaurant? But real estate is something that isn't really a choice for a lot of people. It's something they actually either have to buy or have to sell.
They're moving, their kids, they're out, right? There's something happened, right? Business.
I just went to someone's house this morning. It's transferring. They're loaded their truck up. Like, they have to sell.
They have to.
So I think what's going to happen for real estate, which people are not paying as much attention, didn't really understand leading into this, we already were a low inventory situation in most of the areas in Oakland County where, we primarily do business. So our inventory across the nation has been low, and we came off the heels of 12 years of an uptick in real estate. So even a correction right now is overdue by probably 2 years. But what we don't have, and the reason it's stabilized, and I think we didn't get the correction that we were probably lined up to have 2 years ago, was because inventory levels were low. Exactly.
Supply and demand didn't wane as much as the supply, right?
No, I mean, look, it's a simple supply and demand curve. That's exactly what's going on. So now, after COVID, you're going to have people who are not as committed to selling their homes, removing them from the market.
Correct.
And so as they remove their houses, that's going to decrease inventory even further, which is then going to, for those people who are in the demand pool, they're going to have less selection. So we may see stabilized prices. We don't know yet, but now,
throw in low interest rates in there too, right?
You've got low interest rates for sure. You got low inventory, low interest rates, and certain economies.
We lost her again, everyone. What the fuck?
Oh, that's great.
All right, I love her. We're gonna get her back on the show again because
we'll just keep it
travesty because she's so good. She's so smart. I feel bad that her technology skills are just lacking as far as the webcam thing.
That's super interesting. You got low inventory, low rates. What about low demand? I mean, the demand might be there, but people might not be able to qualify for financing, right?
There we go. Yeah. Take a shot. There we go. She's back.
One thing I think that's pretty poignant though with real estate, like you said, it's a must, right? And it takes two to tango. It's not like a buyer can just walk up to someone's house and knock on the door and be like, "I'm coming in and buying this house," right? I mean, I think as agents, they have to prepare and kind of like just right now, like when we close a refi, right? How are we going to close this? Like when it comes time, everything's done.
Yeah.
How do you want to close this? Do you want us to drop the package off at the door? Do you want, are you okay meeting in person? Do you want to do an e-sign closing? I mean, I think as an agent, knowing the seller's preferences and communicating that to the buyer's agent is going to help for smooth transactions. And
that's what's in process right now. So coming right straight from, the national associations down to the specific offices, all of that is being done and handled now on a hands-off. I closed 3 properties during COVID with no involvement and interaction from buyers, sellers, title companies. Everything was done electronically. So that's going to become more the norm, maybe not to the extreme that we're doing it right now, but certainly we've already talked about how we're going to shift behaviors in the office, how our office space is going to shift, closings are going to shift. So there's going to be a lot of that, but there will be ways. I mean, we had to do that because the business had to continue. People were still in process of closing. So even in the fear factor that we're in, as far as the unknowns, people are
people are transacting.
They're transacting.
There's an appetite for homes. There really are. But like I feel like I'm getting like just from our business, we're getting a lot of activity on the purchase side, and like I see that there's still an appetite there. Now the restrictions are creating a smaller population of people that can buy now too, right? So that's going to constrict the ability of mass buyers is going to get really whittled down to the top tiered.
Well, and here's what's going to be the most important, I think, for sellers. And I just had this conversation this morning with my clients. Right now, you have to jump through hoops to get into a house now. It's not like, hey, we're bored on a Sunday, let's go to an open house. There are no open houses. There aren't going to be broker open houses. If you're going to go and see
nobody's kicking tires.
No one's kicking tires. You're probably driven by the house first. You've done whatever due diligence you did up front. You're getting pre-approvals that are accurate. So the people, when you go in, the pricing is going to be crucial too. Because, before people say, well, let me test the market and see. The testing of the market is now a whole different shift. You're not going to get that buyer or handful of buyers that go in and are like, let me see, maybe I'll go up on price. I mean, you really have to be mindful of how you price because you've just narrowed down the number of people that are actually going to come and see your house and the exposure that it's getting. It's going to be much more limited. So I think that sellers have to be mindful of that. But for me, not one of my sellers that pulled off during COVID is not going back on, and none of them are really adjusting their prices yet. And I'm having these conversations.
Yeah, that's it's starting to happen. Right, you got to get a little bit more aggressive on the pricing because your potential buyer population is dropping too, right? With unemployment and all that. So what do you think is going to happen with all these marginal agents that you know what I mean?
I can already tell you. In your industry, in my industry, this is going to be in any industry, going right from what we were talking, real estate, restaurants, hairdressers, you name it. This is going to be a situation where people that were, dabbling in it or thought it was an easy thing to do, this is going to weed them right out, because it's not cheap to continue licensing and doing all the things that you have to do to be a good agent. And it's a hard business to be in, much harder than I think people understand.
Yeah. People underestimate the level of that you have to work at to be good at it.
Yeah. I mean, I love when people come in and they say, "Oh, I just love houses, so I wanted to get into
It's not about houses,
dude. Be a decorator and architect, because that's only like a fraction of what this is about. It's so much more.
Yeah, it's like me saying I love math.
Right.
Well, I think
I like decorating.
Even agents who were doing well before, doing things a way that now isn't allowed or whatever, right? Or there's issues doing. So if you don't adapt, you won't survive, right?
Well, the most important thing in any business, and I say it all the time, complacency kills any kind of entrepreneurial behavior. If you ever become complacent, regardless of market, even if it's a strong market, you have to adapt and shift whatever you're doing, regardless of market conditions. And so right now, shifting, and not shifting just for the current crisis, but shifting to adapt to technology, which clearly I'm still working on, is going to be the new age and new way of doing things. So the whole way you do your business has to be shifting, everything from the guidelines on showing a house to how you interact with clients to, how you use different forms of technology to adapt to sales now. Everybody has to be shifting, because this is not going to be gone. I think anyone who thinks this is a one and done, the idea of being sheltering in place is, this is going to become a little more common practice, and it might be even voluntary, that I say, what, if January is a bad month for the flu, maybe I just work from home more. And so, because we learned that we can. So you have to make sure you're upping your game to create the new normal and have the tools and skill set to be able to provide that to everybody. And not everyone's going to put that commitment in.
Well, I think every agent is going to be on board with getting rid of open houses. I don't think anyone's going to be like, no, I really want to do that open house.
You're wrong. I'm going to tell you why. Do you know that open houses are not for buyers and sellers? You know who open houses are for?
Loan officers trying to meet agents.
And realtors trying to,
network,
create their lead generation. So it's a lead resource. People think that their house is being open because their generous agent wants to come in. No, less than 3% of homes are sold at an open house. It's an opportunity to lead generate, which now without open houses, that's one more reason that you were just saying people are going to leave the business. It's too hard to find those clients.
They can't figure out a way to generate leads or business, because their ability to do that's kind of being restricted. But if you adapt, Renee, let's say you decided to boost your marketing in one aspect or work a different, right? There's going to be a lot of opportunity for the ones that do figure it out, right?
Oh yeah, people who have a handle on SEO and Google search and all the other ways of getting business, which is that is actually going to be much more common practice than it was before, and the old antiquated ways are going to move, which they were already shifting out of anyway prior to COVID. So there's always ways. It's going to be who leverages it the best and what kind of business model you're trying to create.
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity for people right now.
You just went quiet on me.
You can't do that, Natalia. When you do that, it punts her out like we did last time. So
I'm just gonna leave the screen with all fours, and we're gonna keep
that's
it. Like
it.
that.
Just leave it like that if that's good working. Don't mess with it, please. Man, if you're listening to the podcast and you're not actually like watching this, it probably is boring the shit out of you. I'm sorry about that.
They're probably like, what is happening?
I'm like, because we're doing this video thing, and it's a good. There we go. I think she's back. Are you drinking? Shot. Okay. Right now, this is awesome. This is what live is all about.
So, what do you think? Before this and for some time, right? Like Zillow, Realtor.com, lead sources like that were huge. And I feel like people were, some teams and some agents wanted to get away from it, right? And kind of
there's so many people relying on them.
On their own marketing, like you were saying, SEO, things of that sort. What do you think that this is going to do to that? You think Zillow and Realtor.com are going to come back stronger?
Yeah, I do. I think there's going to be more avenues like that. I think, Matterports, which is a virtual tour.
Right.
It's an app that I thought it was giving away too much information, so I had shied away from it. Now people, videos, video tours, anything that you can provide. And yes, I think that people are going to rely more on these apps because, like we said, they're going to do due diligence prior to entering a home, and one of them is, going to be looking at as much information on different sites as they can.
So how does a real estate agent that doesn't have technology, right? There's a lot of offices. I mean, I've seen handwritten PAs like, in the last 2 years, right? You know what I mean? Like that still happens. What happens to them? Even if they're good agents, they've got a good following. How do they adapt to this?
No one's going to have a choice. I mean, the reality is that's a different model of business. Like my business, I don't do a lot of Zillow. I don't do the lead generation that way because my business has been primarily referral based. I've created a long list of referral and fortunately, that's been my primary business. It doesn't mean that I haven't adapted to use other resources, but people who are that antiquated in the way that they've done their business, it's worked and it probably will continue to work for some time because they too probably rely primarily on the relationships that they've already had instead of doing what we're talking about, which is lead generating and expanding business and expanding teams. That's a completely different profile of an agent is, the one we're talking to. And I think they'll be okay, but who knows? Nobody knows.
I think they're more worried about COVID because if they're handwriting PAs, they're probably pretty old.
Good point, Zach.
Yes.
Do you think there's going to be a struggle to capture more sales because with people relying more on technology and not having that face-to-face or in-person interaction really fall in love with the house and the agent to be there to enhance that and really make a sale? Do you think that people are going to struggle with that? And
that's a really great point. What is the role of the real estate agent now, right? If it is all virtual, where is the value prop? That's a good point.
Yeah, so if you look at, there's a couple articles about some of the companies like Compass and the Zillow, when they were going to create their own, everything was going AI, right?
The iBuyer,
artificial intelligence, and we were going to be a thing of the past. If you look now at, this was the opportunity for platforms like that to really see whether or not they were going to succeed, and they weren't. They didn't. Mm-hmm. There is still something about the guidance, the value, the knowledge, what's provided. You can't diagnose a value on a screen. You have to understand that, and that comes with a professional. You're not going to represent yourself in a court case, and you're not going to represent. You're not going to just go to. It's still the largest investment that people make, and it's still very emotional, and it's still it involves so much more than just saying, hey, I like the paint colors and the floor color of this house. So I think we are seeing more now than ever how much people do still rely on having that personal relationship. And so as things loosen up, we're still going to go show houses. We're still going to be there. It's just going to be the way it's done will be different. Not that we're going anywhere.
I think that's true. I think people actually on the opposite, on the other hand, I really think there's a huge population of people that actually want someone to be a professional and walk them through and guide them through the process. It's a complex, especially now, right? Like people are going to want the best experts. They need the best counsel. They need the best, don't like in this environment, in my opinion, look, 2 years ago, you could fall and trip and a realtor could get a deal, right?
Right.
In today's market, it's very acute, the skill set that you need to have to be able to navigate these waters. So I do believe that the good ones are really going to thrive in this. I really do. I think anybody that's professional right now is going to get business.
Well, look, it's Darwinism across the board on everything, right? It's going to be survival of the fittest for everybody. Restaurants, like we said, everything is going to be based on the strength, knowledge, and the clientele that you had going into this is how strong you're going to be coming out of it and how able you were to adapt during anything. And the experience you've had. I mean, my experience of dealing with, the 2008 crisis and understanding how to navigate that. And then prior to that, when we had 9/11, understanding how these ripple effects affect markets.
Do you feel like 08, do you feel like 08 prepares you a little bit for this?
I think anything that is an experience prepares you for the next experience. I mean, it is a completely different experience. 2008 is nothing like what we're dealing with now, and anybody who thinks it is really doesn't
totally different
their history.
Totally different.
It's a whole different crisis. That was it was created by economics, and it was an economic crisis.
And the housing market was a big part of that crisis.
Was the crisis.
Right.
This is a result of a health crisis that is affecting, that. And we have a strong and stabilized economy, not a weak, economy that was built on, a deck of cards, toothpicks, which is what 2008 was.
Right.
So what's different about it is the way we went in and the way we're coming out. But what's very much the same is the uncertainty, the fear factor, the unknown. What I've explained to a lot of my clients, I think of it as a crisis between. And one was a hurricane. This is more like a hurricane versus the earthquake. An earthquake kind of came out of nowhere. We didn't expect it in 2008. We were unstable, so everything shattered and crumbled around us. And then we had to just fix and repair. This situation is more in line with a hurricane, where we're preparing, we're putting on the hurricane shutters, we're evacuating all the stimulus packages. Very good point. All the things that are going in to stabilize what was already strong, but stabilize so that the outcome, which will have, there will be damage, but it will be somewhat minimized and be able to actually, we see the storm coming. We know how to handle
We're weathering it, right? We're weathering the storm. I agree. 100%. But does it drive you nuts? And it drives me a little nuts when I hear this, and I don't blame people for it. But it just internally, I get a little angst is when people say, "Oh, I'm going to pick up so many good deals during this next downturn. I'm like, bro, like you, that's not how it's going to work."
Well, it will in certain areas.
It will.
Yeah. I mean, I had somebody who said to me the other day, "Am I going to get a COVID discount?"
Oh, Christ. Whoever that was, God bless you, but you should have slapped him.
I mean, we're already getting offers on things like $500,000 under the list price, on 2 million. We're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Everybody wants a deal right now.
There will be some of those, and there are going to be certain areas that are going to be hit harder than others.
For sure.
Things that were climbing up that weren't as stable as certain areas that have shown, a trajectory over the last 100 years of growth, or 50 years or 20 years.
But the problem is, it's when everybody thinks they're getting a deal on everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything is a deal. Everything's going to be a free, which is not one of my clients is my sellers have reduced their price.
Yeah. People, they think they can get it. Right.
And they don't have to sell. So that's the crucial difference between 2008 and now. People had to sell. They were underwater. They used their house as an ATM machine or whatever the situation was. So they were forced to sell. This is more still people for the most part. Not, we're going to see what happens. There will be people who are going to have to adjust. But with the stimulus packages providing people for, the forbearance and everything.
Stabilization,
they're hopefully, God willing, going to be more stabilized. And that forced sale isn't going to create the forced
buy. Right. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. What do you think the effect on the human psychology? Because I say this is the first time in my opinion that I've actually lived in my home. You know what I mean? I was coming and going. It was basically my hotel. I spent a few hours with the kids and I went to bed, right? That was it. Like I got up and went to the office. So this might be the first time I've ever lived in my home, and I'm actually enjoying. I'm looking around, I'm like, hey, I got a good place. I'm glad I figured. What do you think the psychological effect? Because I was thinking about moving. I was kind of poo-pooing my house a little bit. I've kind of fallen in love with it, and now I don't want to go anywhere.
So there's two parts of it. There's you, who's like, God, my house is awesome. I never really appreciated it before.
But there's the other side of it.
The like,
want to hate it.
God,
I'm going to lose it.
So the biggest question that we've had from people is a lot of people want to have the home office or the home gym. So things that they're understanding they can't. This is now the new normal, right?
I need a gym, dude, right?
So
I need an office, right?
I might not go back to the gym, or, if I don't go for 6 months, right? They're learning the things that they're missing in their home and their lifestyle at home, and they're making adjustments. I've had a lot of contractors be requested to do like at-home offices over the garage, or, re-outfit a basement to have, a space, because if the kids are running around or the dog's running around and you're trying to do a Zoom call or whatever.
I think home improvement companies are going to boom.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of adjustment on the home, and people need to be careful too. I've been doing a lot of chit-chat.
You don't suggest gold-plated toilets?
Probably not, unless you're the government, and then you just write the check for the taxpayer.
Right. To your point, just to go back to that, so the audience understands, when you say people should be careful about that, and I'm alluding to the idea that you might think that people might be overspending, overindulging, and not actually adding as much value to their home as they think.
So the most of my phone calls that I've had with clients that are, now trying to decide if they're going to list their house, not the ones that were previously listed, but people who are making
Yeah.
now and saying, do I fix my house? Do I not? You have to look at what your value in your home is currently, how much equity you currently have in your house, and how much that project and improvement is going to cost you, and whether or not that's an improvement that you're doing because you want it, or an improvement that's going to actually increase the value of your home.
If you're doing it for investment, you've got to be careful, to your point, or just be
Definitely.
okay just paying for it and understand that it might be a bad investment, right?
And in some homes, in some situations, it's an improvement investment, adding another bathroom, redoing a master bath, just, converting a 4-bedroom to a 3-bedroom to make a home office might make sense. But you really should talk to an agent and understand, if you spend $30,000 doing this, are you better off selling your house, buying at 3% interest right now, and using that money and to improve a home, maybe at the same price point, but that already has the bones and functionality that you're looking for. So you have to really, you should evaluate whether or not the investment in your specific home makes better sense than an investment in a lateral move that might, be more worthy of the equity. Does that make sense?
Brad, I was going to ask you something.
I just spent $20,000 and put new windows in my house. Can I get an extra $20,000 on my list price now?
That's the question. You needed to have done the event. You needed to ask me first, and you didn't.
There you go. There you go.
The home improvement things like that, furnaces, windows, roofs, those are always good because it's not a deferred maintenance that people are going to look at and factor that in. But if you were already past your equity point of doing that, you might have just had to do it for your own personal enjoyment.
Yeah. Sal, I want to ask Sal.
Upkeep and maintenance.
Yeah, Sal, what do you think the effect of the mortgage restrictions, as far as, there's restrictions on cash out now, there's restrictions on DTI, the people that thought they were right now, like a 680 is like, you're not that great, like you're barely making it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to come back, but
it's coming back. But my point is, it's constricting, right? So it's like, what do you think that's going to do to the effect on buyers, right?
Probably not much, man. To be honest, I don't think we're gonna. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that this is gonna come back here pretty soon, and if you don't have a high chance of potentially buying a house anyways with low credit and no money, right? Like these are kind of like the one-offs where it like doesn't work, or it's a really complicated.
But there was a lot of people doing this. Like, that wasn't our bread basket.
Well, maybe like with the cash out and whatnot, but like from a buyer perspective, there are a lot of lenders with no overlays. Right. There really is. So it's just it's a thing that I think we're going to have to see, and kind of what financial implications does this whole thing have on the market, right?
But regardless, my thing is, it is going to get harder for people to buy homes. It's the jumbo market is very, very in flux, right? Liquidity is an issue on the back end. So it is going to get tighter. So Renee, what do you think? Do you think it's going to fuck shit up, or do you think it's just?
I think that you're going to have the same, what Sal's saying. You're going to have people who really couldn't afford to buy in the first place, and it's going to put everybody into a readjust. They're going to have to readjust. But I think the bigger problem is going to be the down payment for people who are really dipping into their personal savings to keep businesses afloat. That's going to hurt their ability. Where some of the 10% loans, and we were starting to see some of the ease on opportunities for people to get lower dock and all the crap that happened in 2008 was starting to
it started to it was out there.
I mean, a 5% down jumbo loan. I mean, if you can't verify a significant amount of reserves, that person probably doesn't have any business buying that home, right? No. And everything's great when everything's great, and then
they think they're rocking it out.
But luckily, I think that the lenders were quick to react on this and put the temporary restrictions in place while things are shut down. Once the world's back open again, even if it's a different open, that's when we're going to see, I think, permanent guidelines put in place.
Yes.
And they probably aren't going to be as extreme, I think, as everyone's thinking.
I agree. Again, I agree with you.
We tested the at-home work, and that works, right? I mean, a lot of people are doing that. I think what we're going to see that is going to really affect the real estate market is going to be appraisals, right? How are those going to be done in the future? How is the technology going to be implemented to essentially, is it going to, I don't think anytime soon, right? But if in 5 to 10 years, is it almost going to be like price fixing? And if you want to go above and beyond that, you just have to pay that. And if your loan requires you put 5% down, but you want to pay an extra $10,000 on this house that the bank's already valued at a fixed price, well, that's for you to negotiate with your agent, right?
Yeah, and appraisals, that's something we've talked a lot about as agents as well, because in the last, typically appraisals, you went back, 3-4 months, and then in the
6
square mile
months.
radius. And so,
Can't do that now.
well, the last 3 months are useless,
Right.
So what do we base? Can we go back? And then you look at, all right, if I go back an additional 3 months and you go back 9 months, now I'm taking comps from the worst season, that we come off of.
And they didn't go in
we
the
hate
house.
November, December, January.
They did desktop appraisals. We've got a ton of property inspection waivers, right?
I just did a $1.8 million house. They did a drive-by appraisal. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm like, what?
Who's buying that paper, dude? Wow.
Right? I mean,
Who's buying that house?
And then I know for a fact, for sure, these values that I'm getting on some of these refis are way too high.
Do you think so?
$100,000 high, 100% certain. They just bought it last year
for sure.
For $450,000 and put nothing into it. I throw $600 and we get an appraisal waiver.
Oh, are you serious?
Crazy.
You get out an equity line right now.
Well, but they won't do it on cash out, right?
Yeah, you can't.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
listen, I think the long and short of it is, I do think the mortgage market is reacting the right way. I mean, it's constricting right now to be safe, because otherwise you can't have it fall apart. You need liquidity, right?
Who has business buying a house if you don't have 1 month or 2 months reserves in the bank, right? And I'll be honest, when I bought my house, I didn't. But you look at it. I mean,
I had no business buying a house. Is what he's
I had no business probably buying a house, and I got
figured it out,
right?
You didn't get lucky.
I'm in a commission-based business, right? I mean, I know it's crazy. These government loans, which took the biggest withdrawal from the market, right? From a price standpoint, like FHA loans became almost impossible to do, just due to the price. But I just priced an FHA loan out this morning. It was good pricing, 3.25. But I do believe that they should take a good look at that. I mean, FHA basically was subprime in some circumstances. Let me get this straight. On your gross income, we have a 56.99% DTI. You have a 602 credit score. You have no money in the bank. You got to go put $100 in your bank account and print something out. I don't know where you're going to get it from, just to close. And I mean, it's nuts.
And here's the keys. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's nuts. And
they don't even have money to get the moving truck.
Who has $300,000 in the bank, who wants to buy his conservative $250,000 house, but doesn't show everything that he makes on his tax return, can't buy. He's at 760 credit and accounts open for 20 years. Crazy.
Well, what do you think is going to happen for people who, did the deferment on their payments, or took unemployment for 3 months? Is that all going to get adjusted back into how you guys observe?
Well, I'm sure it's going to. But would you want to lend someone $200,000 that said, I'm not going to pay my payment for the last 3, 4, 5, 12 months?
I think if they made the full forbearance, I hope if the person did the forbearance and truly paid it back, right? I don't think they should be penalized.
They truly needed it.
Right. But
some people don't really need it. They've made it so easy that everyone's just taking it. I'd love to not pay my next 3 months so that I can just have a little reprieve and put it back on the back end, or readjust it in my payment, because right now, your income is not the same, but they've made it in some of these situations so easy that I'm wondering what the impact is going to be. Is there going to be, some kind of repercussion on that?
I think
in my opinion, there's going to be
with the IRS, right? Hey, do you own a business that took a PPP loan, right? What type of restrictions or additional taxes do they potentially put on that, if any, right? I don't know.
You just never know. There's people will judge it the way they want to judge it, and then you can't control that, right? I wouldn't do a forbearance personally. If you can pay it.
Is for someone who we're calculating their income, they're not salaried, right? Like, let's say a commission person. Like, how are we going to calculate that? Are we including those months in the average? Are we doing other things to potentially have a realistic understanding at that? Or is it just going to basically be black and white? Hey, we know you didn't work for those 3 months, so your year-to-date's low, now you don't qualify.
Sure. And then we're telling all of our clients, don't come into any of my houses and give me some kind of a pre-approval that was pre-COVID. Everyone's pre-approvals need to be updated because everyone's employment is updated. Your stock portfolio needs to be updated.
Guidelines have changed. Everything.
I people are like, oh yeah, they're pre-qualified, and I said, well, when? I'm going to the house this weekend. When?
And
that's a different life. None of that, nothing that mattered then matters now.
Right.
People have called us, or I've just get an email. Hey, here's our purchase agreement. I'm like, whoa, dude, I haven't talked to you in like 2 months. I know I've tried to proactively reach out to as many people as I can, but it's just impossible to talk to everyone about it, right, in their specific situation. But I've definitely had deals come in that, hey, I was planning on sending this to this lender. I can't do that anymore. They won't allow it because of X reason, right? Or do you have 12 months reserves because you're self-employed? Do we have to chop your income 25%? Do we have to do all these things? And it's just more of a minefield for us to navigate. But at least being a broker, we have 5-6 different options to make sure that it gets done, right? Like some banks, they change the rules, and if that's where you're pre-approved, that's that. You have to talk to another lender. So I think it's important for buyers to get multiple opinions.
Yeah, there's going to be different programs. I was telling my team the other day, everyone, there's going to be different programs available at different banks. Chase is, making all kinds of strong restrictions on 700 credit scores, and a lot of these banks have. It's really going to be important to shop around what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And like your point about realtors, having people who are really savvy in the business, who understand how to navigate these.
You need pros. You need pros right now.
Things, you need pros in the lending. And
both sides. You need pros, and those pros sometimes. I'm sorry, go ahead, Sal.
If your bank tells you no, call someone else, right? Because
or even if they tell you yes, but your terms or your down payment,
right?
Because they're so starkly different across the board right now.
There were some banks that weren't even doing refis a couple months ago. They put a whole, they put a hold on that because they were getting inundated, which is also going to change the market, because I think people are going to say, you know what, if I was going to sell my house now, I can just refi at 3 or 3.5% or whatever it is, and I'll stick around for a couple more years. So the whole market
is being like flipped upside down.
25% of their payment, it's like, well, okay.
Before, at I refied at 2.5%. I'm like, what?
Yeah. We're going to get real busy here soon. So we're going to do 3 questions. All right. I don't know if we did this the last time, but we've been doing this on all our episodes since. Maybe. And I know you're an avid watcher and you saw them all, so I totally get it. Okay. So first question is, what is one skill that you thought you'd never be able to accomplish that you picked up during COVID? But like cooking, maybe?
I cook all the time. I'm Middle Eastern.
I know. I got to come over. What's your best Middle Eastern dish?
Oh, that is okay. So that's something I made. Those rolled grape leaves. You guys, I know everyone's like, if you're
Dolma?
Greek, if you're Italian, so Dolma, which is what we call it. I made by myself a huge pot of Dolma and rolled the grape leaves and the cabbage and everything and made it. Was fabulous.
Was it good?
Yeah, my mom was very impressed. She was on FaceTime with me and yelling about how exactly
you're doing it wrong.
No, you gotta
Yeah, you're like sacrilege. Yeah, I like La Sauce Florida. That's my favorite one. So anyways, what is the one thing that you picked up as a skill set that you didn't think you could?
So I didn't pick it up yet, but I've been working very hard on technology, Zoom calls, and how to use all this crap and do all that. Listen, I'm old.
Renee's got like technology for dummy books, like everywhere.
This is why I hire people. I have assistants that they're just supposed to put it up there for me.
Yeah.
So technology, I'm lucky that I have my teenagers at home with me who are my little, they can, when they hear mom screaming in the other room, they can come fix it. So I'd say that, really having to deep dive into that and learn that this is Zoom calls and meetings and everything else. It's very effective.
Yeah, it is actually. Like I talked to a lot more people because they can get through them. Anybody else have one that they want to throw out there? Sal, Brad. All right.
When you can, where will be the first place you travel to?
Oh, me? I already got my travel plans. I was supposed to go to San Tropez in. I was just telling.
Me, Paul, the guy that runs the show over here. This guy.
So my girlfriends and I like to travel quite a bit, and so we were supposed to be in San Tropez in August, and I'm like, I'm still going. I'm going. That's worth it.
Yeah. It's so funny because there's such a pain tolerance for people that are all over the spectrum, right? Yeah. And I don't think anybody's wrong or right.
And 2 of us are like, we're going. Let's book now.
Doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter. You don't care.
Go ahead.
If you had
to self-quarantine on a deserted island somewhere and know that you wouldn't get sick, You can only bring one thing with you. What would you bring?
Can I bring my kids?
No, one thing.
Thing. Are they
One
things?
Thing? Well, I mean, kind of. One thing that I would bring with me?
No.
That's an odd question.
Like my phone, probably, because I can do a lot with it. Or,
yeah.
Something like that. What would I bring?
Phone keep you connected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a phone, because you can do, it's the
Watch
best
YouTube.
resource.
Yeah, you'll just plug the charger into the coconut tree and just fucking charge it.
No, I had a solar one. I bought a solar charger.
It's two things actually. It's a Peloton,
That
so she can
would work.
power
Right.
the.
A working telephone. I don't know.
If you had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh God, my kids and I play this. I can't pick.
Just one though. You got to.
Oh, it's probably like, I don't know.
Mine's pizza, dude.
No, I get pizza.
I get pizza. I could eat pizza every day for the rest of my life.
Tacos.
The same pizza?
I don't care. Pizza's pizza. Cold pizza, warm pizza, hot pizza, pizza in the morning.
I eat fajitas. I love fajitas. I could eat fajitas forever.
Really?
Yeah, anything Mexican. I
like the sizzling fajitas that you get like Chi-Chi's.
The peppers and the wrap and the salsa.
That's awesome. Yeah. Listen, Renee, honestly, it's always a pleasure. You did drop some good knowledge, so really appreciate it. Tell the audience how they can get a hold of you.
So rlarealtors.com or reneeacho.com is our site. We're on Instagram as RLA Realtors, and we are available, my team and I, at any time. So find us and ask questions. We're here to help. And thank you for your patience with my technological.
We're going to have to do this again when we figure out the technology.
When I get an app that works.
Thanks for having me. All right, Renee. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Renee's website is in the comments below, everyone.
Thank you, Natalia. She's the sound of God coming in.
Yes, she was talking to me when you guys weren't. So thank you.
She's my little cousin, by the way. She's as crazy as I am.